Mr. Woolner here. Now, many of you will know me from fascinating TMP lessons on the life of the Buddha, the meaning of jihad, or why bad things happen to good people. Others from my utterly outstanding leadership of the scholarship program on my ability to cram exemptum doctorate into every sentence. A lucky few of you know me from my below average cross-country running adventures with the Harriers. But when the school bell rings at the end of the day and the car park empties, I become something quite different. I become a politician, or at least I'm trying to become one. I've always been interested in politics, but during the first lockdown, I started to get more and more exercised about how decisions were made that affect the daily lives of millions of people. At about the same time, I saw on one of my local Facebook groups a notice asking people to run for local government. A few emails and a Zoom interview later, and suddenly I was twice, just over the border in Berkshire, candidate for the Conservative Party in the local council election. It still sounds odd to me too. After all, I hadn't ever voted for the Tories before Boris's 2019 landslide. But then who doesn't love a bumbling old private school boy with a penchant for spouting Latin at the drop of a hat? Exemptum doctorate and all that. I don't think I could have picked a worse time to run for office. The Tory government was being blasted on all sides about the slowness of its pandemic response and the mounting daily death rate. Christmas was then cancelled, and worse still, the pubs all shut. To top it all, COVID measures made it literally illegal for me to meet anyone who might even think about voting for me. But then in March, the restrictions eased, the sun came out, and since April, I've been pounding the pavements of the village, stuffing literature through letterboxes, knocking on doors, and bumping elbows with anyone who'll listen to me. While many of you were enjoying safe, socially distanced time at the coast, or visiting relatives and friends, I spent the Easter break racking up 50,000 steps a day with a mask on my face and a rosette on my lapel. But why tell you this? Why come out as a Tory politician in front of the whole school community? Well, today is election day, Super Thursday, as it's being called. About 5,000 local council seats in England, 130 members of the Scottish Parliament, 60 members of the Welsh Senate, 13 Metro mayors are being voted on up to 10 o'clock this evening, to say nothing of the by-election in Hartlepool, which will decide just how much the country cares about the Prime Minister's choice of wallpaper. Now, this isn't a general election year in England. We won't get a new party in government, nor yet another new PM. And because of this, big policy changing surrounding national defence, income tax rates, or the abolition of private schools won't happen. Instead, what is being fought for is the little things, which affect us, all of us, every day, in many ways, many small ways. Recycling bin collection and speed limits, air pollution and bus timetables. These are the things at stake today. They might not be as exciting as chairing a global climate summit, withdrawing from the European Union, or welcoming a US president to our shore. They won't ever get me on the front page of the Times, fingers crossed. But they can make a huge difference to the lives of ordinary people like you and me. And people really do care about these things. A lot, it turns out. You'll never know how much they care until you've spent 20 minutes being lectured on the doorstep about the council's brand new recycling bags and why wheelie bins would have been better. Or how the mammals, that's middle-aged men in lycra, hello Mr. Alcock, who have multiplied like rabbits during their furlough from work, make a nuisance of themselves on their racing cycles, jumping the light. All very boring, I hear you cry, another Thursday thought. The vast majority of you, saving those who have had their 18th birthday, aren't even able to vote. And by the time you are, it'll all be different once more. This may not be the case forever. Indeed, for the first time ever, 16 and 17-year-olds are being allowed to vote for their Welsh members of Senate. If this goes well, the franchise might be expanded to all those above 16 nationally in time for the next general election in 2024, which means that even our own year 7s might have a vote by then. And quite right too. After all, you're the ones who are going to have to deal with the mess the grown-ups are making of the world one day. Why shouldn't you have a say? Many argue that you're not intellectually mature enough to make informed decisions about tricky topics like wheelie bins, that you could easily be misled by others, or that you're already well represented enough by your parents. Many however, used the same arguments about women just over 100 years ago, and indeed about women under the age of 30 up until 1928. Universal suffrage, voting rights for all, was hard won. Campaigners like Louisa Garrett Anderson had to be arrested, and Emily Dickinson was even Emily Dickinson was a poet. Emily Davidson was even trampled to death by a horse before women were granted the same voting rights that men had held since the 1830s. In many ways, therefore, choosing not to vote when you could do is insulting to the struggles of those who lived generations before us. And on the flip side, surely campaigning for the voting age to be lowered is the natural extension of the work of people like Millicent Fawcett, one of the leaders of the women's suffrage movement. In 2018, she became the first woman to be honoured with a statue in Parliament Square. There are 11 others there, and they're all men. She stands now between Robert Peel, who created the police force, they were originally known as the Peelers, and Gandhi, an impressive gentleman. She holds her famous banner, "Courage calls to courage everywhere." And she calls on you to take an interest in politics, to use your vote, and to push for the rights of those who have no voice. Now, there's a relatively well-known advert from 20 years ago that I'd like to share with you, and hopefully the screen sharing will work for me.
Well, see, the European Parliament is on.
I don't do politics. Surely they're not digging it up again.
You don't do politics, remember?
How come we never win anything?
Naughty, naughty. Politics.
£3.50?
Now then.
For crying out loud.
No.
Isn't someone going to do something? Well,
Oi!
Politics affects almost everything. So if you don't do politics, there's not much you do.
What? Last orders is... sorry.
For registration and voting details...
I've often thought about that short cartoon when I've been too lazy, too tired, or too disengaged to tramp to my nearest polling station and put my X on a slip of paper. So much of all of our lives is touched by the decisions that are made at the ballot box, from the price of milk to the filling in of potholes. And though I agree that you have long lives ahead of you and you should enjoy your childhoods while they last, all too suddenly, believe me, you'll be walking out of the school gates for the final time into a world that expects you to work for a living, pay your own way, one without a matron to fix all your problems or rescind your infractions. Of course, it's not just through local or national politics that you can make your voice heard. On Monday, our new prefects were announced. If you were given that opportunity, congratulations. You have a duty to represent your peers at the college level. If you didn't quite make it, or your time has not yet come, you have a responsibility to share your views and ideas with them. We also have the school council, a forum for you to raise issues with the head man and his deputies about everything that's important to you, the quality of the food to the school's recycling policy. And within your houses, there are designated positions and roles throughout the year groups. It is through systems such as these that you can press for change and make a difference. So please use them. A final thought with which to end my Thursday thought. I was such a fan of a TV show called The West Wing. 90% of you will have never heard of it. It depicts what now seems like an almost utopian world in which a mild-mannered, Nobel Prize-winning economics professor becomes President of the United States. It's certainly a world away from the nightmare in the White House of these last 4 years. It's on 4OD, should any of you fancy looking it up. It started in 1998 though, so it's a little bit dated now, no smartphones. But I hope some of you will come to love it as much as I do. Now, there is an oft-quoted line in the show which is threaded through all 7 seasons. Decisions are made by those who show up. So, will you show up when the time comes? Thank you for listening. Have a very good day.